Hello everyone, amateur meteorologist First Weather here. It is February 10th, 2021, and we have one more winter system to talk about for the Mid-Atlantic, particularly the states of Virginia, Maryland, southern Pennsylvania, Delaware, extreme southern portions of New Jersey, and also eastern West Virginia. Previously, just even a couple of days ago, this was looking like a very potent system for the Virginia and Maryland area. But since then, the models have really backed down. And that's been the trend with this winter to see very good systems a couple days out. But then as soon as we get within 60 hours or so, the trends really sort of collapse. And we don't know why that's happening, but that just has been the way it's gone this year. And particularly with this event, because the synoptic setup is more of an overrunning event, you're not really going to have that widespread snowfall. This is more going to be a convective nature event. So you're going to have much more localized totals, localized lower totals, and that really makes things harder to forecast. Now, I want to show you guys the EPS ensemble. This is the ECMWF ensemble. This is the 18Z run. You can see it has about 4 inches of snow in central VA, and also a bit more in the areas north of DC, West Virginia, Baltimore. And it has a bit of a gap in between. I want to show you guys what it looked like 3 previous runs ago, right? So this is the 0Z. Let me try to find a better one. Let me go to the European high resolution, just to illustrate to you guys the unbelievable collapse we've seen really in terms of snowfall. So this was today, right? So showing very little, to be honest. This is just a few days ago, believe it or not. It's showing widespread 8 to 12 inches of snow, and then just in a couple of days, it completely removed all of this. It's just really astounding to see that much of a shift. And even on Tuesday night, we were talking about 6 to 10 inches of snow in areas north of I-64, and then really it just collapsed very quickly. And so that has been the unfortunate trend for snow lovers, very good for snow haters and people that want spring, but that's just how it's been this winter. Now, moving on to the NAM 3 kilometer, this is a great model to really show the convective nature of the system. Usually the RGEM and even the European and the GFS can be used for snowstorms, but in this type of system, really the only sort of model you can use are these high resolution models because of the convective nature and the overrunning of the system. You can see we have that first band of snow right now in northern Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, Delaware, impacting those areas, up to 2-3 inches of snow, maybe a bit more. And then this is the other short wave that comes in. You can see it starts off as rain for central VA, but then slowly changes over to snow around 5 to 8 p.m. And then we see a very narrow band of snow. So this is going to be a high boom or high bust event. You're going to be seeing some areas could see a lot of snow, some areas could see very little. It's going to be a huge spread between areas maybe just 10 to 15 miles apart. That's going to be the challenging nature of this forecast. And you can see by Friday morning, this thing is long out of here. And then we are left with some freezing drizzle and some flurries after that on Friday morning and afternoon. And then after that is when things get really weird. We can see a major ice storm actually on Saturday with the atmospheric profile basically screaming ice storm. The way it looks right now, the atmospheric profile does not support snow in any capacity for central VA because of how warm the mid-levels of the atmosphere are going to be because of that southeast ridge. If that ridge was not there, we would be talking snowstorm right now. But because of that very persistent ridge, we're going to be seeing ice. And that cold air bleeding in from the polar vortex in the central United States, that makes the surface temps very cold, but then about 2,000 feet up in the atmosphere, we're about 20 degrees warmer. And so that is basically the biggest freezing rain sounding you can ever want in the eastern part of the country. And I'm getting increasingly concerned about the potential for some very significant icing in central VA and south and west and even north. But you can see this is the NAM 3 kilometer snowfall forecast for this event tomorrow. You can see, again, it has a very narrow band. Right around the Richmond metro, areas to the west, into the east, seeing about 2 to 5 inches of snow. I think this is a bit too far south, but you can also see how it has this sort of gap where you're not going to really be seeing the two bands. And then just to the north of DC, another little narrow band from the band we're seeing this evening. Now here's the RGen. This is a great snowstorm model typically, but because of the system, I'm gonna give it the same sort of leverage as the NAM and the other models. You can see it's also a bit more bullish with that first band in Northern Virginia and Maryland. And then after that, it changes over things to snow. But notice how the precip is very light. You can see this is not a heavy snowfall, and that's because this is an overrunning event. It's almost like a warm front. You don't really get very heavy precip with warm fronts. And so because of that, the snowfall rates are not going to be too impressive with the system. You might recall the system we had just on Sunday was very impressive. On February 7th, we had 2-3 inch hour snowfall rates in some spots. So this is not going to be that type of event. And it also shows a very quick exit. All right, it shows snow out of here by Friday morning. I think this is even a bit too much. I think we're going to be out of here with the snow by at least, or the latest, 10 a.m. Friday. So this is going to be a very quick duration event. And the RGEM also shows the potential for some pretty good icing on Saturday. All right, what about snowfall? Here's the RGEM snowfall forecast. Ooh, it's a bit outdated, but I think the 18Z run is also pretty useful. You can see for the RGEM, it's showing again that narrow band a bit further north than the NAM, and I agree with the solution. I think that cold air is going to have a hard time sinking all the way south. Historically speaking, we always get that cold air to come in a bit more late than expected. That's just how it is in central VA. Those Appalachian Mountains really are a struggle to overcome. The models just have a hard time picking up on that. But I do like this forecast. And again, it has that gap here in the northern part of Virginia, and then again that higher band in Maryland and extreme northwestern VA. Now, why is this happening? So why aren't we getting these big snowstorms? Why are the models so confused? Why is there so much volatility? Well, the reason is the synoptic setup we're seeing. So we have this big polar vortex right now in the northern United States, and this is going to sink some very cold air. There we go. This is going to sink some very cold air down into the middle portion of the country. But that very cold air sinking downward into the central U.S. is going to create almost a ridge in the west and a trough and a ridge in the east. So let me go back to where we are right now. So you can see right here, this big lobe of the polar vortex is going to sink air downwards. And because of that, you have that southeast ridge here and that ridge on the west coast. And that means we have overrunning events where the cold air meets the warm air. And that boundary is almost sort of like this, right? So you're going to have systems going up into the Great Lakes, into the Northeast. So I think the snow potential right now is very high for the interior portions of New England, the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley, even the Midwest and the eastern portions of the Midwest. States like Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri. I think those areas are going to be very active for the upcoming 1 or 2 weeks because of this pattern. And I think these areas right here in the Southeast are going to miss out as of now. This could change, but right now I think these areas are going to be really in that warm sector where the main threat is going to be ice. And finally, here is the European model graphic that I showed again in the beginning of the video. So without further ado, here is my snowfall forecast. You can see I'm going with a general 2 to 5 inches just north of the city of Richmond, 1 to 3 inches for a broad area in this purple region right here, a coating to 1 in this blue region where that overlapping does not take place. DC, I think 1 to 3, Baltimore 2 to 5, Richmond again 1 to 3, just north of that 2 to 5. That includes Charlottesville, Roanoke, coating to 1, a bit of ice, and then south of that mostly rain and maybe some ice at the end of the system. So again, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.